Eskom presents 2 wage hike offers in one day. Now workers will have the last word on whether a 7% increase is acceptable. And staying with the power utility, McKinsey agreed to pay Eskom R1 billion in return for its fees for the 2016 turnaround program. Very good evening. This is eNews at 8. I'm Tony Ndoro. Now, unions have rejected Eskom's adjusted wage offer from 6.7% earlier to 7% this afternoon. NUMSA, the National Union of Mine Workers, and Solidarity are demanding a 9% increase, but NUMSA says it's willing to settle on an 8% increase instead. The power utility initially said it could not afford any increase for this year. For more details, I'm joined in studio now by Slindelo Masikane. Slindelo, very good evening to you. You've been following this whole story for quite a while now. What is this? That is the latest now. So the ball now is in Eskom's court.
Definitely. So we expect negotiations to, of course, resume next week, Tuesday. And at this stage, I can definitely confirm to you that the unions will not be taking back this new offer to their members. They definitely know that their members are going to reject it because they've been mandated to stick to their 9%. What the unions have told Eskom is that they are willing to come down from their 9% wage increase demand to possibly 8 and 8.5%. But this will only depend on the fact that Eskom must agree to a 1-year agreement and not a 3-year agreement. The
other sticking points, of course, are the fact that the unions or the workers, they wanted 1,000 rand on top of the 3,000 rand housing allowance as there already. That's another sticking point, isn't it?
That is definitely another sticking point. The power utility had indicated that they don't want to give the workers housing allowances or bonuses for this year, and that is definitely what is stalling the negotiations as well, because the unions are steadfast on those demands, saying that they will not sell out their members, as to quote them exactly, that they will not agree to a 3-year agreement where workers will not get bonuses or housing allowances. So what they've said is that we'll bring down our housing allowance demand from 1,000 rand to between 500 and 850.
Now, obviously, top of mind has got to be what happens if there is no agreement at all, because NUM has come out and said, look, we will not hesitate to go on strike if they don't get what they want.
Exactly. So consumers are now having to deal with the threat of a nationwide blackout if we don't see an agreement reached on Tuesday. In fact, the unions were quite clear that if there is no resolution come Tuesday, they are going to head straight to the CCMA, as they've already declared a dispute with the power utility, and that will once we get to the CCMA, you know that a strike is definitely on the cards.
Okay, so just round it off. Negotiations will continue on Tuesday next week.
On next Tuesday, negotiations are set to resume at around 9 a.m.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Slindelo. Okay, that was Slindelo Masikane just giving us an update on the Eskom situation. Let's stay with Eskom now. The power utility says it has now finalized a settlement agreement with McKinsey to pay back 1 billion rand under the parastatal's turnaround strategy. In a statement released this evening, Eskom board chair Jabu Mabuza says while this is the first successful recovery, it will not be the last, as its members are committed to dealing decisively with improper and irregular contracts. The utility says given that Trillion was not party to the settlement, it will use the legal review process to continue pursuing the recovery payments made to the Gupta-linked firm. Now, post office and telecom workers belonging to 3 unions are on strike across the country. Members of the Communication Workers Union, Customs Union and the Democratic Postal and Communications Union say they'll fight to the end until their demands are met. Heidi Jokos is tracking that story for us.
3 unions who represent Telkom and the South African Post Office say they've been fighting for a wage increase for over 3 years. Workers have embarked on a nationwide strike demanding a 12% salary increase from both entities.
The members of Communication Workers Union and other unions haven't received any increase. So this year we are saying enough is enough. We want the workers to get a decent living wage.
The first day of the strike also had a major impact on social grant beneficiaries. With the new payment distributor being the Post Office, beneficiaries struggled to access their money, But the Communication Workers Union, however, says the strike needs to go on.
For the fact that the people who are receiving grants are the downtrodden, are the poor ones, who cannot make ends meet without those grants. In fact, all these crises in South Africa tend to be blamed to the workers and the poor. We've been in negotiations with the South African Post Office from January, and they refuse bluntly to give workers a salary increase.
One worker who has been working for the post office for over 22 years says she's appalled by the working conditions.
Most of the time we don't have cleaners in our hubs to clean it. Our toilets is dirty. We are getting cold. The aircons in the South African Post Office is not working.
Unions will wait till Monday to see what both Telkom and the post office bring to the table before they continue on a nationwide strike. Heidi Jokos, Johannesburg.
The distribution of social grants has been disastrous this week. Thousands of beneficiaries could not access their funds due to a technical glitch on the SASSA system. The post office strike has compounded the situation, leaving beneficiaries stranded. Ditiro Silepe paid a visit to a Johannesburg Social Security Agency office.
After a week long of non-payments and technical glitches, leaving over 700,000 social grant recipients in limbo, SASSA hoped everything would be sorted. Frustration on the ground is tangible as new applicants join the already long queues.
Namhlanje into endizoyenza ndizoreport ukuthi imali abantu andiyitholanga from Saturday until now, and mandifika la isasa abantu mandifola iline la, and andikho happy kuba abantwana balambile abana next endlini.
Our situation eyakhathasa sana mama kilo draw ka di2 so yakunyaka ikhaya yakunyaka emchini yona khathi yabona entsha ina le problem.
Mina imali yami ngiyitholile kodwa indaba yokuhola emabank simila ende emabank.
Amakhadi bathi basinike wona akasebenzi, lamakhadi wabo lakasebenzi, siya emabhenki emaposita sithola imali.
SASSA says because of the post office strike, applications for the new SASSA card have been put on hold until the industrial action ends. Ditiro Slepe, Johannesburg.
Duduzane Zuma was detained briefly on arrival at OR Tambo International Airport last night. His lawyer says the son of former President Jacob Zuma was released as there's no warrant of arrest for an alleged corruption case. Duduzane is due in court next week on unrelated culpable homicide charges. In 2014, Mpumzile Dube died when Duduzane's car collided with a minibus taxi in Johannesburg. Another passenger died in hospital a few weeks later. Despite a judicial inquest ruling that the deaths were the result of negligent actions, the NPA decided not to prosecute Duduzane at the time. Now, an ailing Northwest Health Department has to make fundamental changes if it hopes to recover and receive any additional funding from the National Treasury by year end. The department was placed under National Government Administration late April. Michael Apple was there.
Northwest Health Department officials met for the Provincial Health Consultative Forum. Those are really just big words for how do we find ways to turn around a healthcare service that's been in ICU for too long.
So I think I will continue to contribute for as long as possible. But yes, the turnaround is not a turnaround just for the sake of it.
The administrator from the National Health Department sent to the Northwest says she's already identified two worrying trends.
Poor financial management and poor supply chain management as one under finances. Two, poor people management. And I want to link what I want to say to when MEC said the services in this department is far from collapsing, but it's at the cost of frustrating our people.
A turnaround strategy means nothing if you don't actually have the right people to do it. These are the thoughts of three CEOs of hospitals about the department being placed under administration.
My belief is that it's an eye-opener. It gives us the opportunity as a department to identify the gaps and to bring systems that are sustainable that will never bring us into the same position.
Conservatively, the Northwest Health Department has a budget shortfall of 204 million rand, which means it'll run out of money by September. On top of this, there are over 4,000 vacancies in the department. But the administrator says that they're going to start advertising over 220 posts this weekend. Michael Apple, Rustenburg in the Northwest.
Okay, coming up after the break, President Cyril Ramaphosa appoints an inter-ministerial committee headed by Deputy President David Mabuza to deal with issues around land reform. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the ANC's Tumamina campaign has come to the Western Cape. Mitchell's Plain residents got a taste of President Cyril Ramaphosa's Send Me call as ANC members took to the streets. Our reporter Arti Nasi has more.
Attending to the call of citizens in need, ANC election chairperson in the Western Cape, Ibrahim Rasool, visited Tafelsig Clinic to inspect services after several complaints.
The president was on a walk here. Someone complained that when they come to this day hospital, they have to stand in the elements, whether rain or extreme sunshine and so forth, because they're here from 5:30. This thing only opens at 8 in the morning. And on that basis, the president asked us to come and check out in the spirit of Tumamina.
Patients say facilities need improvement.
You have to come stand in the morning from 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and you have to wait till the doors open at 7:30. And I don't think it's right, especially the old people. When it's raining in the morning, they have to stand in the cold.
When we come here, the children are sick, we're standing outside in the cold. You can see it's winter. Then they tell you must bring the child with. But the opening so very late. Sometimes the security, there's no shade for the children.
As part of the campaign, Police Minister Beki Cele visited Sikalo informal settlement. In May this year, racial tensions erupted between the informal settlement and the neighboring community.
A few weeks ago, there was quite a bad incident here. Anything that's got racial connotation need to be really worked on. So there was a problem between this community and the colored community. We want to come here to say it can't be that way.
Arti Nasi, Cape Town.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed an inter-ministerial committee to deal with issues around land reform. It'll be headed by Deputy President David Mabuza. Kailihle Kumalo has the story for us.
The proposal that the new development bank should also fund the private sector is a very good one. And I think that is a proposal that needs to be taken forward.
A suggestion by the business community. Since its establishment, the BRICS Bank has focused on funding infrastructural projects. In South Africa, Transnet is one of the beneficiaries as it seeks to refurbish the Durban port. But the president says this mandate should be expanded on. Another aim of the gathering is to ensure business leaders understand the country's regulations and policies to boost intra-BRICS trade.
What is it that should begin to make us as good as our BRICS partners? Are there any issues that we could say hold us back?
The dominant issue among investors is the land matter. The president used the occasion to allay the fears of Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini on the Ingonyama Trust land that the communal land held in trust will not fall foul of new land laws. He also wants to meet the king.
We have no intention whatsoever to go and grab the land that is controlled by the Ingonyama Trust.
South Africa is determined that BRICS is not only for our national interest, but that the African market as a whole should benefit, especially where infrastructure remains a stumbling block. Kailihle Kumalo, Pretoria.
Okay, time to recap our main stories. Eskom presents 2 wage hike offers in one day. Now workers will have the last word on whether a 7% increase is acceptable. And staying with the power utility, McKinsey agreed to pay Eskom 1 billion rand in return for its fees for the 2016 turnaround program. Now, finally, the school holidays are almost over and parents are running out of ideas to entertain their kids. Luckily, the National Children's Theatre saved one of the best productions, The Pied Piper, for last. Nomasonto Poe has the details.
Have you heard the story of a town who hired a man to rid them of a rat infestation? He sang all the rats away, but the town refused to pay him. Soon, dire consequences followed.
Look at that rat nibbling at your shoe!
While the play does stay true to the original story, it has a unique African twist. Some of the actors taking part had never heard of the Pied Piper, so this was their way of introducing the story to a new audience.
Children who might have never ever heard the story of the Pied Piper. I would have been one of those children growing up in Soweto. I never heard of the story. First time I actually read it was when I came here to work.
One of the biggest themes of the play is the gap between rich and poor, a growing problem facing the country. There are other lessons to be learned for children, including the importance of standing up for yourself. But why exactly should you watch Africa's Pied Piper?
It's just really useful for children my age to come and see something like this because it teaches us that even if we are in like a high position of power, we shouldn't abuse it.
The play will run at the Children's Theatre at 10:30 and 2:30 every day till the 15th of July. Nomasonto Poe, Johannesburg.
Well, that's it from us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Good night.